This is the first video of a series journaling my work, progress, challenges and behind the scenes, illustrating in paper, sculpture and drawing the fairy tale White Cat, written by Madame d'Aulnoy in 1698. The goal is to finish the book project at the end of the year, at the end of fall. We will see, but it's going to be more than illustrating the story. I also want to add a page about Madame d'Aulnoy herself, a sort of dictionary with expression words which are all forgotten now or misunderstood. This fairy tale has been a source of inspiration since I started to create, show and sell my art 2 decades ago. It's my favorite fairy tale by Madame d'Aulnoy. I like it because of her beautiful and creative writing, her unique ideas, the romantic plot, the beautiful love story, the metamorphoses, the fact that it was written in the 17th century and reflects the fashion, history, taste and language of the time, and that it contains and includes a lot of Rococo aesthetic and ideas that I like so much. Throughout the years, I created many variations and versions of White Cat and the other cats of the kingdom. You can see a lot of these creations in my playlist about Madame d'Aulnoy on my channel, and most of the creation I did these past years are in this video, so you can have a look if you want to. But I only once dived a little deeper in this story, and it was exactly 10 years ago. In 2013, I wanted to work on a project. I worked on several illustrations of White Cat for a book project I submitted at the time to French publishers, but it was rejected everywhere, and I never completely visited this story, because at the time, I only worked on the positive characters of the story, the white cat and the characters who would sell like cats. Cats typically would be easy to sell for me, but ugly old fairies, ugly dwarfs, scary dragons are a little more difficult to sell. And there is a big dark part side to the story that I could never really explore, because I know from experience that people who like my work and who support my art, they wouldn't like that so much, which I understand. But here at last I have a chance to create all these dark characters too that I want to explore, that I think are absolutely fascinating. And the second part of the story with all the darker characters is really fascinating, and I'm so excited to work on it right now, which is often a part of which is deleted by modern publishers. They usually don't focus very much on this second part of this fairy tale. White Cat is a powerful and fascinating character who might be a sort of mirror for Madame d'Aulnoy. They both hated their husband who was chosen for them, and they were ready to do everything to get away from it. You can watch my video about Madame d'Aulnoy if you didn't do it, to have more information about Madame d'Aulnoy's life. She has a lot in common with White Cat. White Cat will marry twice, the first time without the approval of her family and of the fairies, and the second time she will ask to her upcoming father-in-law if she could marry the prince, which is really unusual. You don't have a lot of princesses, especially in fairy tales written in the 17th and 18th century, who would choose their husband and would ask to his parents if she could marry him. I think it's pretty remarkable.
He no longer thought of anything but mewing with White Cat, that is to say, remaining her kind and faithful companion. He passed his days in agreeable amusements, sometimes fishing, sometimes hunting, after which there were ballets, carousals, and 1,000 other things which entertained him exceedingly. Even the beautiful cat herself frequently composed verses and sonnets so full of passionate tenderness that it seemed as if she had a susceptible heart, and that no one could speak as she did without being in love.
This White Cat is entirely finished. She appears in several moments of the story, but I will do another body actually, because I need to have her in a laying position on a bed, on a couch, so I will need to have another body. And she has a few specificities, so nothing is glued because I need to have her holding different things and all that, so nothing is glued. a nice cloak, royal cloak is not glued either. I have some pins in case I need to have something attached just for the time of the photo, of the illustration fixed, so I attaching well, so I have that in case, but on purpose I don't want to have anything glued or anything, or I can add a bit of glue for the time the quill, for example, has to stay in her hand, something like that. And she has a lot of manuscript because it's the scene where she is writing verses and doing some poetry. So I created a lot of manuscripts to have all around her on the picture. And the dress is a bit special because there are some fleur-de-lis all around it. The dress can also be removed. I added a tiny bit of fabric here. We won't see this part usually, so I will be careful that we don't see it too much. But she has another outfit under it, and I can change it if I want to. The sleeves will stay, but everything can go away, which is pretty cool. I'm quite happy with that, which means she can have one or two other dresses. She's supposed to have a black veil. I need to do it appears at many times in the story, so I will need to do that, though I don't like black too much, but Madame Donald wants to have a black veil for the cat, so I will need to have that. But otherwise, yes, that's her dress, and of course she can remove, and the head will go on another body too. I only making one head here and several bodies. When I did my first project, illustration project in 2013, at the time I was creating a piece, selling it, and then creating another piece. So the cat has tons of different heads. It was not really time efficient, all that, and the head was a bit different each time. So here maybe I'm going to have something different on her hair, because she's supposed to have some 17th century hair, wig and things like that. Maybe at some point I will add something once I have finished one or two photos I need to take, but it's going to be the same head. So I'm happy. I'm saving time here, and the dress also I could remove it if I want to. And of course for this scene, the scene when she's writing verses, all that, I still need to do the background and add a little something. But the character, the objects for this scene are pretty good. So this is the list, the two lists for the first part and the second part, and a few other things I'm going to do. The list of all the things I want to do. Maybe I will not do all that. Very probably not all sculpted because it's just too much. Some are going to be, I would say about 10 of those are going to be big scenes, very large. Not very large, but with many characters, a background, some decors. And the others are going to be small or drawn or sketches or... The idea is to have everything covered, but not necessarily with sculpted decors and characters, because it would be really too much. But I'm going to definitely do a few of those sculpted, like especially the metamorphosis of the cats, which is going to be really fun. Several scenes with white cat, of course. The dragon, I want to sculpt the dragon, which I don't very often have the chance to do dragons, so the 3 fairies on the dragon, so this one I for sure want to do them, but I'm not sure exactly. This is the list I've done, this is the goal, and probably I will have, I hope to have 80% of all those done. And those are the little books for the library in the second part of White Cat, when the princess is going to live on her own in the tower before she's turned into a cat. It's the youth of White Cat. And I, of course, was tempted to do a library, so it took quite some time. It doesn't look like it, but it took me quite some time already to finish the books, to do this collection of books using the title she mentions. She said that are appearing on the walls of White Cat as a sort of paintings on the walls that the prince is discovering at the beginning of the story. So there is Podane, there is Serpentin Vert, Green Serpent, the story of the fairies, all that. So all those are mentioned at the very beginning of the White Cat fairy tale. when the prince arrives in the White Cat Castle, but I thought I would use them also for White Cat's library when she's a princess and not turn into a cat yet. So it's just the books, for the moment. I'm working on the parrot and the background. I could have done something really easy, which would be just working on this and not doing each book separately, because after all it was also for an illustration, but I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with that at the end, and I thought I prefer having everything done really well on each side and not totally doing a sort of cinema way where you only work for what you see and you don't care about what will not be visible. I do everything because I'm not sure, almost everything at least, for the sculpting pieces, because I don't know what I'm going to do next once I finish the entire project, if I'm going to sell those, if they're going to be part of an exhibition, if I don't know really. And I could use it also for the illustration, because I'm probably going to make them appear at different places, just for the big illustration and then for a little part in the text maybe. So I just thought, I think I prefer having them all nice so I can manipulate them and play with them in a nice fun way. Otherwise I couldn't do that. I couldn't play with different angles and all that if I only would focus on this side of the books. What is interesting about White Cat is it's a fairy tale included in a short story which is called Le Gentilhomme Bourgeois. And the White Cat fairy tale is already divided in two parts. There is the story, the fairy tale of White Cat, and then at the middle, she's going to tell her past and how she became a white cat. So she talks and she explains all what happened to her before, which is really a very classic Rococo Baroque theme, that you have something inside something, inside something, inside something, and it never ends. And the fairy tale is included in this short story, which is not at all a fairy tale, though it was included in her collection of fairy tale when it was published in Les Contes Nouveaux, les Fées à la mode. And you have Le Nouveau Gentilhomme Bourgeois, which is totally inspired by Le Bourgeois Gentilhomme by Molière, which is a comedy ballet performed for the first time in, I think, 1670, so about 20 years before she published a little more. She published her own story, so it was something very known and very classic to do a satire and a caricature of the bourgeois at the time, because the bourgeois is the trader, merchant who has made a lot of money, who come whether from low extractions, but who has no education, no culture, no manners, who wants to imitate the aristocrats, but don't really manage to do it well. So this has been absolutely used a lot in plays and literature, and Madame Delmo, of course, had to do it. She's an aristocrat and she doesn't like the bourgeois at all. She doesn't like the way they caricature their own elegant lifestyle. They try to approach it, but they don't understand anything, and she used that a lot. At the beginning, Le Nouveau Gentilhomme Bourgeois, his name is La Dandelardinière, if I pronounce it well. He has a complicated name, and he was a merchant from Rue Saint-Denis, and Rue Saint-Denis was a street very known for furniture shops or fabric shop or that, and then later, much later, in the 20th century, it was a prostitute street, so you can tell it was not very, very elegant. And he's going to buy the library, who belonged to an academician, to hoping it would give him the knowledge he didn't have, all that. So it's all about that. It's quite funny, actually. She really has a good sense of humor. And at the moment, there is the main character is sick, and another character is going to tell him a story written by a lady. Her name is Virginie, and she has written this fairy tale, White Cat, and he's sick, he needs to be entertained, so he's going to have this story told to him while he was in his bed sick. And he doesn't really understand that it's a fairy tale. He said, no, those are not fiction. Those really happen. And if I had lived at this time, I would have made a lot of money. He's always obsessed by money and material possessions. So he only thinks about money, superficial, shallow things, if you will, For example, the other character who is talking to him, he said, you would have married a fairy if you lived at that time. And he said, oh no, they appear to me very ugly. Yes, it's quite funny, and he said that he had an excellent taste, and if he liked White Cat, it just means it's an excellent fairy tale. So there was this story, which is absolutely not a fairy tale, which gives the occasion to Madame D'Aulnoy to show all the things she doesn't like in the bourgeois, compared to White Cat, the character is a real aristocrat, and it appears in so many ways. This is something also she has infused in all of her fairy tales, discreetly, but it's definitely there if you look at things carefully and in details. And for example, the big difference between bourgeois and aristocrat is the way they spend their money, and the way they keep their money or they don't. And the bourgeois would keep it, would not spend it easily, would like to keep it to have even more, and the aristocrat would spend it a lot because he has to show his rank, he has to show off, it's part of the rank, you have to show you come from a superior birth, so you spend to show all the money you have, and showing you're not scared because you will have more coming, and also to show your generosity. And White Cat, for example, is an aristocrat. She owned a lot of money, she's a princess, and she owns 6 kingdoms. And as she's extremely generous, she's going to give away 3 of her kingdoms because she doesn't care. She still had 3 other kingdoms belonging to her. So she does it just not even thinking of that. And I will see if there is a translation of Le Gentilhomme Bourgeois somewhere online in case you're interested to know more. It's more like a classic 17th century story, definitely inspired by Molière and all the caricature of this bourgeois. If you are a bit familiar with Baroque music, you would know the music of Le Bourgeois Gentilhomme because it's one of the most famous French 17th century music, composed by Lully. It was a comedy ballet, so half play, half music. So you can find it online very easily and you will recognize it. I'm also working on the cover, which will be for the book and for the audiobook, and I'm going to use the White Cat you have seen, change the background, maybe add 1 or 2 characters, but I will see that as I go. I will have a more simple version and maybe a more sophisticated one once I have finished many characters for the background and some hands holding the piece of paper where there will be the title, a lot of fruits for the second part, which just comes from the secret forbidden garden of the castle, where the mother of White Cat will hunt for the fruits. And for that I have started to work on this round thing here, and I've started to do some fruits. It takes a long time to do, so for the moment I still have few things, especially grapes. Grapes are hugely time consuming, so I think I'm going to do 3, yes, maybe 3 grapes, some purple ones, some lighter one. They are very, very long. It doesn't look like that, but it's very long. That's why I thought I'm going to have some green thing or that, but I'm also going to have some drawings under it, so it's going to be, the illustration is going to be like that, and here it's going to be empty at the center, of course. But I was thinking I'm going to have some interesting fruits and just the same thing but drawn on the paper, and I'm going to use that as a background. I was playing and experimenting with that yesterday, and I think it's going to work, and finishing that, of course. And I have my hands, of course, which will be at the end here, so I'm going to finish also that. I'm quite happy with the hands. I need quite many because they are holding a lot of things. They are the flying hands of the servants, which have been turned also into hands. during the big transformation by the fairies. And so they will be hung and this will be hidden. I will see. I will try to have the least Photoshop possible. I don't want to do that. I really want to have most of the decor like that, done, sculpted, drawn, and just maybe once in a while I will need to hide a little something, I will hide it. But this is my first pair of hands. I think I will need probably 2 more just to, especially for the prince, to hold his clothes and all that. I also have started to work on the butterflies for the butterfly bedroom that you are going to see. So I need quite many, and I'm going also to have some which will be on the paper, but I need to have them around the bed. So those are the butterfly I'm working on right now, which are going to be for the butterfly bedroom. So there will be some sculpted butterfly and painted butterflies. This is going to be in the living room of the castle, the library. So I've started to work on the books and the parrot. This scene is in the tower in the Princess Cat before she was turned into a cat. And this scene is going to be the metamorphosis of the courtesans and the servants and everybody in her father's castle, when the fairies are very, very angry and they're going to turn everyone into cats. So it's a very dramatic scene. I love this scene. I want to take a lot of time on this one. And I want to be a bit inspired by the typical 17th century painting. And this one is the portrait of Louis XIV's son, Le Grand Dauphin. And yes, I really love the atmosphere of the colors chosen, the golden light, which is typical of the 17th century painting. And in the French painting it appeared a lot with all the masters of the 17th. So you don't have pink, you don't have nice light blue, green. It's more like golden and really a lot of bright red, which I quite like. And of course you can see all the fantasy furniture you had at the time, which totally look like fairy tale furniture. So it's not very difficult to find a lot of fairy tale inspiration in these very historical paintings. But this is definitely an inspiration with all the details. I could spend hours dive into a painting like that, checking all the details, getting inspiration from every corner of the painting, patterns of the dress, the decors and details of the table and the landscapes behind it. So that's it. What else do we have? The tower. Few research for the breakfast carried by the dragon and the La Fée Violente, the violent fairy. The tower. So the tower is going to be pretty small. I've started to sculpt it. I think you're going to see it in the next video of the White Cat series. But it's going to be pretty small. And the dragon is going to be pretty small. I will need probably 2 dragons, I think, because one is going to arrive near the tower. And yes, I think it's going to be this one is another basket of fruits for the mother. Though this one is going to be sculpted, but in small. The breakfast too. I was sort of trying to find ideas for the garden and all these magical fruits which are coming to the fairies. It's just a great part, this second part. That's why it's a shame it has been deleted in so many versions, because it's just a lot of wonderful ideas. And the idea of the garden, just like in Adam, with the forbidden apple in Snow White and all that, the fruit which shouldn't be eaten. There are a lot of symbols in this story, in this part of the story, and those will be the 2 old fairies with fruits coming out of their sleeves. This one, just the same, is going to be small. But I would like to start everything now. That's the thing I need to control myself, because I need to focus on 3 or 4 scenes at a time before starting everything and not finishing anything. But I want to start the costume for this one. I'm excited to do that. And then I've started to work on the castle, l'ancien château de fées, so the old fairy castle as it's going to appear, also with nice edges. So I'm going to try to have a lot of oval thing. I love oval illustrations and drawings. So for now it's about that. I'm really going little by little, focusing on a set of scenes, making them, then making progress. So for now it's really the butterfly bedroom. The metamorphosis, not yet. This one is, I'm not working on this one right now. The library. And there will be, yes, on the tower. I'm going to start the tower. So I will keep you updated, of course, in the next videos of the progress, the illustration, if I'm keeping my schedule or not. We will see, but I really plan, it's really my contract with myself to work on White Cat every week and possibly every day. So far I've worked on it every week, pretty much every day, but I'm also working on my workshops. I'm finishing one which is going to open in May, and I have then going to work on all the Halloween and Christmas season in advance, so we will see. But I will do my best, and I will keep you updated also with the audiobook I'm working on with Mr. Caldwell, which is helping me for this project and also for the book. So I'm going to share more about all that in the next videos, and I hope to share with you the progress once a month to keep you updated with how things are going, if I'm keeping my schedule and all that. And if you didn't watch my past videos about Madame d'Aulnoy, which I did a few weeks ago, and the other one about the fairy tale in France in the 17th and early 18th century, you can find them under this video, which will complement this one and will give you more historical context and more explanations if you are interested in this part of history and want to know more. Thank you very much for watching. You can subscribe if you didn't do it and want to be sure not to miss anything, and you can give a thumbs up if you liked what you saw. Thank you, and I will see you very soon.